Bubba Wallace just said something that every NASCAR driver is thinking, but nobody wants to say out loud. It has nothing to do with his car, nothing to do with his team. It is about a rule that plays out at almost every short track and road course on the schedule. And once he explains it, you will wonder why NASCAR has not fixed it yet. Before we get into the complaint, you need to understand the context around Bubba Wallace in 2026, because it makes everything he said hit harder. 2311. Racing has two full-time Cup Series drivers, Bubba Wallace in the number 23 and Tyler Reddick in the number 45. Same team, same resources, same equipment pipeline. Through 10 races in 2026, Tyler Reddick has 5 wins. 5. He has more wins than every driver in the top 5 of the standings combined. He is leading the point standings and running away from the field at a pace that almost no driver in recent NASCAR history has matched through the first third of a season. Bubba Wallace has 1 top 5 finish and 5 top 10s. Same team, completely different results. That gap puts a magnifying glass on everything Wallace does, says, and complains about. And when a driver in that position speaks up publicly about a flaw in how races are run, you pay attention, because he is not making excuses. He is pointing at something real. Here is what he said. Wallace was asked in an interview with The Athletic about the pettiest thing that annoys him during a race weekend. He went straight to short tracks and road courses and the choose rule. If you are not familiar with the choose rule, here is how it works. Under caution, on the lap before the race goes back to green, drivers pass a cone placed on the track and physically choose which lane they want to restart in. Inside lane or outside lane. The choice can make or break your race depending on track conditions, your car's setup, and what the drivers around you are doing. It sounds simple. In practice, it creates chaos. Wallace broke it down plainly. At Martinsville, he said, everyone is rushing to get all the cars through the choose cone in time. At Bristol, same thing. Drivers at the front of the line can afford to slow down and take their time picking a lane. That forces every car behind them to suddenly speed up and sprint to the back of the field before the green flag flies. And then there is the road course version of the problem. At Coda and Sonoma, the choose cone is placed close to the start-finish line. There are long straightaways on both of those courses that could be used instead, giving drivers more time and space to make a clean decision. Instead, everyone bunches up at the last possible moment, makes their call in a fraction of a second, and then scrambles into position. Wallace was not done. He talked about what it actually feels like inside the car when you have to restart from the back. He said drivers are in 3rd gear, sometimes 4th gear, going into a turn just trying to catch the field before the green flag drops. Think about that for a second. The race is not even officially back to green yet, and already the last few cars in line are pushing the limits of their car just to stay in contact with the pack. Jeff Gluck, who was doing the interview, backed him up from the press box perspective. He said you can watch from above and see the front of the field taking their time, leisurely rolling through the choose zone, and then all of a sudden, the back half of the field is sprinting to catch up before the green. What looks calm at the front of the line is a scramble at the back. Now here is why this matters more in 2026 than it did in any previous year. NASCAR made a major rules change this season. Horsepower at short tracks and road courses was bumped from 670 to 750. That is an 80 horsepower increase, and not just at the traditional short tracks. Bristol, Darlington, Dover, Nashville, and Gateway all moved to the short track package this year, meaning 5 tracks that used to run a different setup are now running with this extra power. More horsepower on tight tracks means faster corner entry speeds. It means more aggressive restarts. It means less room for error when cars are still jostling for position before the green flag. And you are telling drivers to make a lane choice at the last possible second while also managing an 80 horsepower jump on tracks where crashes are already more common. That is the environment Bubba Wallace is describing, and his frustration makes complete sense in that context. But here is the layer nobody is discussing. The choose rule exists because NASCAR wanted to give drivers agency. Before the choose rule, restart position was assigned. You got stuck where you were. The inside lane was almost always favored, so the outside lane became a graveyard. The choose rule was meant to fix that, give every driver a real decision, let strategy play out, and on longer tracks, it mostly works. Cars have room to spread out. The cone placement gives enough time for drivers to process and react. On short tracks and road courses, the same rule creates a compressed, rushed, borderline dangerous procedure where a driver in the back of the field is already behind before the race even resumes. Wallace is not asking to eliminate the choose rule. He is asking NASCAR to think about where the cone goes and how many laps before the restart the procedure begins. Give drivers 2 laps instead of 1 at Martinsville to move the cone to a different part of the straightaway at COTA. Small fixes. Real difference. Now zoom out and think about who is saying this. Bubba Wallace drives for 23XI Racing, a team that went through one of the most significant legal battles in NASCAR history. Last year, 23XI and Front Row Motorsports sued NASCAR over the charter system. The result of that case led to NASCAR offering all teams what are called evergreen charters, meaning charters that do not expire. In the old system, charters had set end dates and smaller teams lived in constant fear of losing their status. Now, those charters are permanent. That is a massive win for organizations like 23XI, and it means that when Wallace talks about rules and procedures, he is coming from a team that has shown it is not afraid to push back publicly when something is not working. His frustration with the choose rule at short tracks is not just a personal complaint, it is a driver with a platform on a team that already has a track record of speaking up, pointing at a specific operational flaw and asking publicly why it has not been addressed. And remember what else is happening inside his team right now. Tyler Reddick is on one of the most dominant runs in 23XI racing history. 5 wins in 10 races, first in points. The gap between the 2 teammates in the standings is not small. It is significant enough that questions about Wallace's form, his car, and his results are already being raised. In that environment, calling out something that affects your race results directly is a way of saying something important. The choose rule chaos at short tracks hurts the drivers who have to restart deep in the field more than it hurts the drivers at the front. If your car is good enough to be in the top 5 every restart, the rushed choose cone procedure is a minor inconvenience. If your car is fighting to maintain position every single lap, getting caught in a sprint to reach the back of the pack before green is a real problem. Wallace has 5 top 10s this year. That means he is regularly in the window where the choose rule chaos matters most. He is not running in the back, completely out of contention. He is in the middle of the field, exactly where restart, position, and lane selection can swing his finish by 5 or 10 spots. His complaint is practical. It comes from lived experience on those tracks. Here is the cliffhanger sitting underneath all of this. NASCAR has already shown it is willing to make changes in 2026. The horsepower bump at short tracks, the 5 tracks shifting to the short track package, the point system overhaul that made wins worth 55 points instead of 40. These are not small tweaks. The sport is actively reshaping how races are run and how results matter. If NASCAR is willing to change horsepower levels and playoff formats, there is no legitimate reason it cannot look at choose cone placement and restart lap counts at short tracks and road courses.